you the news. Printed the info, we gave you the clues. Owners' profits were always sky high. Changing market now threatens our lives. Post-literation, critical reading, dumbed down nation, signs of inbreeding, TV sucking ideas from our head, public discourse just about dead. We'll ride the dinosaur, yeah, ride the dinosaur. Our readers are in the open seats.
Hey world, it's Eugene Driscoll of valleyindy.org. Welcome to another episode of Navel Gazing, the Valley Indy podcast. Thank you all very much for listening the last few weeks. We're averaging just about 2,000 downloads a week for this podcast, which I think is spectacular for a local news podcast. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Today, my guest is Christine Bucci-Caprilozzi. She is with the CT Horror Fest. Go to cthorror.com to find out about the CT Horror Fest, which is coming up September 14th, 2019 at the Naugatuck Event Center up there in Naugatuck, their largest venue yet. This is year 6 for this convention. If you don't know what a horror fest is, it's like a comic book convention or a Comic-Con. They're really so mainstream now. I feel like I don't have to explain it that much, but it's a good time. I know back in the day, a horror fest would be off-putting to some people, but it's a good event. It's a nice time if you're looking something for different to do. If you've never been to a horror fest, and it's right in our backyard, so why not? Tickets are $25 at the door, or you can order in advance by going to cthorror.com. It starts at 11 a.m., again, Saturday, September 14th. And without further ado, to use that cliche, here is Christine Bucci-Caprilozzi of the CT Horror Fest. Thanks. On the line with me is Christine Bucci-Caprilozzi of CT Horror Fest. Christine, thank you so much for coming on, even though I've mispronounced your name 19 times, but I'll edit all that out. Hello, Christine.
Hello. Thank you for having me on, Eugene.
No, the pleasure is all mine. I am psyched because the CT Horror Fest, if anybody out there doesn't know it, it's a horror convention that's been happening, this is your 6th or 7th year in Connecticut?
It is year 666.
But you're a Valley resident. This thing has been held in Waterbury, then it was Danbury for a couple of years. But now, this is it. It's coming home. It's going to be in the Naugatuck Valley. It's going to be at the Naugatuck Event Center on September 14th, CT Horror Fest. What it is, it's like there's a vendor side to it. It's like the weirdest craft show ever. Then there's celebrity appearances from people from legendary horror movies. You can get their autograph for a fee and a photo with them, and panels. So I am so psyched because now you're an established convention. You know, you guys do a great job. I was a vendor last year for not for the Valley Indy, but for a mobile horror podcast, blah, blah, blah. And we had a great time. The people were so nice. It's well run. And you guys do a ton of work, obviously. So if you could go through who's going to be there, Christine, who's appearing at the Naugatuck Event Center on September 14th?
Well, you will be there, Eugene.
That's right. Good. Thank you. I wasn't sure after last year. I was like, oh, boy, I hope we can get a table again. I will not get escorted out this year. I promise.
Well, besides all that you mentioned, we have vendors and artists there. We do have, we're going to have a haunted area from our friends at Evidence of Evil, who do a haunt up in Southington every year. They're going to be there with their mini haunt. We have costume contests with panels. For celebrity guests this year, we have Tobin Bell, who is Jigsaw and Saw. We're basically having a Saw reunion. Our VIP breakfast with the Saw cast is sold out, which includes Tobin Bell, who is Jigsaw, Shawnee Smith, who was in a bunch of other things besides Saw, as well as Flanery, who was in Saw 7, but he's been in a ton of things like Boondock Saints. He was in the last season of Dexter. I think he was in Young Indiana Jones.
Yeah, I believe you're right. Yeah, and he's got a huge. I mean, he's like the whole. I mean, his cult credentials are huge, as you just mentioned. So that's awesome. Okay, so who else? I know David Naughton, my man David Naughton. Thank you very much for setting up an interview that I did with him that we posted and we'll repost shortly. What a nice guy. He was just awesome.
Yeah, and we're excited to have him. He's a Connecticut native, so we're very much excited to have him. We also have Quinn Lord, who played Sam in Trick or Treat. He's not a little kid anymore, obviously, but he will be there. Danielle Harris from the Halloween franchise. She was in 4 and 5. She's Jamie Lloyd, and she was also in Rob Zombie's Halloween. She was also in Hatchet, the Hatchet series that Adam Green did. She's been in a lot of things. She was even in Roseanne. I don't know if you remember, she played Darlene's nemesis in Roseanne.
Yeah. And she's awesome because she's been at a lot of conventions over the years and always just really nice. He doesn't ever seem to get sick of the scene. Always very personable. I've met her many times, and she worked on a movie with one of my buddies. We just saw her recently, and she was just so super cool. So that's a good one, and that's going to draw a lot of people because she's another one from her just from Halloween alone. Christine, correct me if I'm wrong, but whatever it is about her, she has just a real cult following for people who love Halloween and love the character she played as a child in those later Halloween movies.
Well, exactly, and she was also in the remake, Rob Zombie.
Oh, that's right.
So the younger generation knows her too. So she's very much associated, even though she's done a ton of other things outside of horror. She's very much associated with that franchise. I mean, I think, what's the company? Terror Threads. They actually just did a Danielle Harris t-shirt. Because you know how they do licensed t-shirts of like, you know, Halloween or Trick or Treat or whatever, Friday the 13th. They always have, you know, licensed t-shirts, these companies. They did one of Danielle Harris. Like, wow. It's a Danielle Harris tribute shirt. So she'll be there. And we have Don Shanks from Part 5. Who was in there with her, and he's not a Michael Myers you see a lot. So I know a lot of collectors are excited that he will be there. The Hellraiser reunion, the Cenobite reunion.
Oh yeah, there you go.
We have Doug Bradley, and then we have the Cenobites coming over from England. Nicholas Vince, Barbie Wilde, who was in Part 2, the female Cenobite. And Simon Bamford, who was Butterball, the one I known as Butterball, who was absolutely delightful. We also have, and I'm drawing a blank, so forgive me if I'm forgetting anybody. We have Lou David coming, who was Cropsy in The Burning.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's going back. That's so awesome. And you just announced, I believe,
Galen Ross.
Yeah, that's huge, from Dawn of the Dead. Just one
and
of the
Creepshow.
Yeah, well, hey, Christine, I like Dawn of the Dead, okay? We're going to go with that. But that's one of my favorite, not just horror movies, just one of the greatest movies, in my opinion, ever made. And she is so good in that. And does she do conventions? Because I don't remember ever seeing her at a convention, but, you know, I could have been blacked out.
I think she does a couple. She doesn't do a lot of them. But she's done a couple, and when the opportunity arose, I was like, yeah, it was kind of a no-brainer. She lives in New York, so we were like, sure, let's see if she's available. So we were happy to have her. Obviously, you know, Dawn of the Dead, like you said, is one of the greats even outside of horror. I mean, George Romero is a genius. Who
appeared at one of your past conventions, which was just for me, just the greatest thing to see him up close and in person. Was really awesome before he passed.
And what a humble and wonderful man. I don't know if I ever told you this story, but I was talking to him in the hotel lobby, and Rob, who you know is the co-founder and also my husband, who run this together, him and Larry Dwyer, who's part of our staff and also runs Connecticut Cult Classics. They come walking into the hotel, and I'm like, hey guys, hey George, this is my husband Rob, and this is, you know, Larry. And he turns and goes, oh, hi, I'm George Romero. Nice to meet you. And Rob just looks at him and goes, yeah, I kind of knew that. Like, you know, he never, you could tell it didn't dawn on him that he was a famous person.
And then you have panels, right? You have a whole bunch of panels. I'm looking at your page right now. You got an American Werewolf panel featuring David Naughton, the star. that classic movie. You got a trick-or-treat panel, Halloween panel with Danielle Harris. I don't know if I've ever seen Danielle Harris in a panel before, or at least it's been a while, so that's going to be awesome. The Hellraiser 1 and 2 panel, and you can find out all this. You can visit CT Horror on Facebook or go to horrornewsnetwork.net/CT-horror.
You can go to cthorror.com.
cthorror.com. Last year you were at the Danbury Ice Arena. I thought it was really cool. But I know there were issues with, I had a bag on the floor. It got a little wet, but whatever. I liked being chilly, mainly because I'm morbidly obese. But why now the Naugatuck Event Center? I've never been there, but I understand it's a much larger venue. Parking might be easier. What's the idea there?
When we met with the event center, we met with Mayor Pete over there. They were really looking to grow the event center. And when we saw how big the space was, I mean, it's handicap accessible. There is plenty of parking, and it is a lot bigger. Plus, being it more into the center of the state of Connecticut kind of made it an attractive move for us. And again, they're still growing, and they've been very easy to work with. I know Bob over there at the event center has been really wonderful to work with.
Do they serve like food and drink? Wink, wink. How does that work?
That's what's going to be different this year. And that's what's been good working with Bob. Like, this is our crowd. We need people inside because, have you even seen me at the event? Like, I just run around all day. I rarely get to eat.
Right.
I think I eat like a pretzel all day or something. And, so we're going to have a couple of food vendors inside. I believe Jesse Camille will be inside. There may be another pizza vendor inside. And they're also going to have a few food trucks outside.
Oh, nice. Okay. Food trucks are everywhere.
So
that's really cool.
It's going to make it a little bit more of a festival-like atmosphere. But we kind of just, I don't want to say stumbled along the Naugatuck Event Center. I literally, we were driving by, we saw a sign for a car show one day. And it happened to be that day. I was like, let's just go look and see what this is about. We just walked in and we're like, wow, this piece is big. Wow, it's like a square. It's not like I don't know if you remember going when we had it at the Matrix and it was all like that weird, like we almost had a maze. Like you had to walk through the maze.
It was right out of Stranger Things. I mean, if you saw the latest season of Stranger, it was the underground bunker that the Russians controlled that existed in Danbury in that Matrix property.
Yeah, exactly. So, it was a square. It was open, and we're like, wow, this is a big space. We could work with it. And so I just did some digging, called town hall, and got in touch with Bob, and we just met with them, and they are trying to grow it and to do other things. They just had an expo there. Was it last week or the week before? Made in Connecticut Expo.
Oh, right.
And
okay.
We went to that. That got a decent crowd. And, they had plenty of vendors. It was set up differently than we're going to have ours set up, but they had some food trucks outside, and, it seemed like there was plenty of parking. So, it seems like they're trying to grow that into, doing more events and such.
Yeah, and this is, hey, you know what? I never go up to Naugatuck, so this is and I live in the Valley, so it's going to get people to downtown. And I don't mean that as a knock against Naugatuck. I just don't venture up that way, but I will on September 14th. Do they serve beer and alcohol? I've been sort of beating around the bush here. I assume they don't because it's a town venue, but I don't know. Rock the Valley had beer at Nolan Field there.
There may be a beer truck. I did put in and talk to Bob about because they secure the food. Our only food vendors are Hardcore Sweets, who will of course be there like they have been since year one. And Deadly Grounds will be there. They only have the little samples of coffee.
Yes, okay. Oh, gotcha. It's all regulated and gotcha. All right, this is so complicated.
The event center is in charge of getting the food vendors. But I did let him know, we really kind of need a beer vendor. So I do believe there will be beer there.
All right, so I was looking at your website there, where you have all the listings and events and all the good things happening at the CT Horror Fest in Naugatuck, September 14th. Pre-ordering. Hey, can you still order tickets online and get in at 10 a.m.? Or is that closed?
Yes, you can still order tickets up until Thursday the 12th at noon to get in at 10 a.m. Otherwise, you can get them at the door starting at 11 a.m. And it runs until 7 p.m.
Okay, and it's $25 to get in. Then you've got a bunch. You've got a bunch of your sponsors are a really cool and eclectic bunch of people, and a few degenerates. I mean, Pint of Comics. Pint of Comics is another Connecticut podcast. They're awesome guys. Vinegar Syndrome. They're vendors and sponsors. They are awesome. Like, tell me about them a little. How did you connect to that outfit? And they're down in Bridgeport, right?
Yes, I believe they vended with us one year, and then that was, I think, around the same time that they ended up being sponsors of Connecticut Cult Classics. But they were vending with us, I think, from year one. And Brandon is literally one of the nicest people I've come across in this, like, in this community. He's such a nice guy, and yes, they run the archives down in Bridgeport, but they've been longtime supporters and just a big part of the horror community in Connecticut. And yes, like you said, Pint of Comics. We were just on there last week. Also, Super Retro Throwbacks with Steve and Christina. He's always been a big supporter, also a sponsor. And let me make sure I'm not forgetting any. But of course, Evidence of Evil.
I'm sorry.
Yes,
say that again.
Evidence of Evil, of course, is our haunt sponsor. They've been with us forever. Dave and Bobby do an awesome job. Yes, in 1041 and 1029 The Whale, they're our sponsors. 1041 will be on site that day.
Oh, cool. Now I'm intimidated because I'm going to be sitting there with my little amateur microphones.
They're going to be in front.
They're not going to be, because that was the weird thing about, like, so I do this horror movie podcast with a couple of buddies, which I try to hide from the general public, but whatever, I do it. And we were recording episodes at the CT Horror Fest last year at a table, and it was so funny because the people would walk up to us and they thought we were like Ethan and Lou from I-95, and so it was just really awkward because they're like, who are you guys? And we're like, well, we're literally nobody. We're just like, we just bought this banner off whatever Vistaprint for $50. But so it's cool. So I'm going to be sending, when people think, I'm like, no, there's the real radio guys over there. But what I want to ask you about, go ahead.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
Spooky October, I'm seeing on there on your website. This is a new event or thing or programming that you have coming up. I know it's affiliated with the Horror News Network, which is your online genre publication. And also coming to Naugatuck in October. So tell me about that. This sounds really cool, and a lot of people are going to be into it here in the Valley.
Well, like I said, when we met with, Bob over at the event center and Mayor Pete, they really want to grow the event center. And Rob and I thought, what else could we do? It's not feasible to do Connecticut Horror Fest a million times a year. It's just not. I know everyone wishes we would do it more, but it's a huge undertaking and it's a massive financial commitment. We're like, what could we do for the season? We're not the haunt experts. We're like, let's do a series of events. Let's do panels. Because that's the thing. When you do a one-day event, you can't get to all the panels you want to. A paranormal panel. We'd love to do a paranormal panel. We have a lot of paranormal people who have vendor tables and tables at our event. We just can't get to it at this point. But some of them are going to be at our Paranormal Night, which is on this. I don't have the listing in front of me. I think it's on the 26th. It's spookyoctober.com. It's October 26th.
Okay.
So we have a paranormal panel with Reverend Larry Elward and his wife, Debbie. Larry Elward is actually a real exorcist. Also, we have author Jason McLeod, who will be there. He's worked with the Warrens before, and Chris Thomas, who's part of Paranormal Genesis, who's also from Connecticut. They'll be doing a paranormal panel. The first weekend, it's just a bunch of events, like a series of events that the Connecticut Horror Fest crew is putting on. Like the first kickoff, Friday the 4th at 7 p.m. is the premiere of Halloween in a Box.
This is Rob's baby, essentially? Your husband?
It pretty much is. It's a labor of love that he's been working on for about 4 years. It's from H&N Productions. It's a documentary about, remember those Halloween costumes you used to buy in a box, the plastic, like those masks?
Sure, man. I was Gene Simmons in 3rd grade. In like 1983, I was Gene Simmons. Yeah.
So it's pretty much a documentary about that. I don't know if you remember when they had like that big Tylenol scare back in the 80s and how all these competitors had to come together. So he went out and pretty much found all these people and interviewed them. There's a bunch of old clips in there of people in those costumes. It's really interesting and something I know it's very much nostalgia for a lot of people, at least my age, because I'm getting older. But it's going to be premiering on the 7th. October 4th at 7 p.m. And so that's kind of the kickoff to Spooky October. So it's going to be at the Naugatuck Event Center. And then we're going to have things like the night after, we're having a UFO panel. So there's Connecticut UFO group going to be there. Saturday the 12th, we're having the legacy of the Connecticut witch trials.
Wow.
With author Professor Richard Ross. So we're going to be talking about that. We're having horror trivia night on October 18th, Friday night. It's horror movie trivia night and Larry's going to be hosting that, Larry Dwyer. And the night after is Connecticut Cult Classics. So we have that on our site because we sponsor Connecticut Cult Classics. It's Larry's thing. We're just one of the sponsors, but we have it on our site to help, get people to that.
Gotcha,
He's the movie guy,
Is it still going to be at the Strand or is it moving up to the Naugatuck Event Center, the Connecticut Cult Classics for that?
No, that is at the Strand.
Okay. Gotcha. Wow. So you're doing a lot. That's crazy.
Yeah, and there's still more even after that. Sunday the 20th, we're having a Halloween arts and crafts show, which is going to be a lot of the similar vendors to what we have at Horror Fest. It's going to be artists. Do you know what I mean? And so it's almost like an art gallery for an artisans for horror and goth art. And then we're doing something to coincide with the trunk or treat in Naugatuck.
The what?
Where we're going to have Naugatuck has their trunk or treat on Friday,
trunk or
October
treat.
25th.
I thought you said Trump, the Trump retreat. I was like, what? President Trump? What?
God. No, we're not doing that.
Okay.
So we're going to do trunk or treat, and we're having scary stories for kids inside. So we're going to have an arts and crafts thing and just kind of a little thing for the kids just to kind of coincide with the trunk or treat.
Christine, is there anything you wanted to add that I perhaps haven't asked you or that I cut you off about the CT Horror Fest?
No, I think people should come out and check it out. It's a really fun time. Yes, there's celebrity meet and greets and photo ops, if you choose to, but we have a ton of really great vendors. A lot of, artists and artisans are vending this year that have really cool stuff. I mean, everything from, like I said, Hardcore Sweeps is going to be there. She's at the movie night as well, but Skull Art by Melissa Willette. There's also Trash Panda Creations, who does jewelry boxes, custom jewelry boxes, horror jewelry boxes. There's just so many unique artists and artisans going to be there, and authors. So I just, come check it out.
Yeah, even if you're not a hardcore horror fan, if you walk in, it's just a cool experience just to walk around, like you said, and look at all the different stuff people are, the artwork and the knickknacks and all that good stuff.
The haunted area, the panels, it's going to be a lot of fun. So it's, 11 to 7 on Saturday, September 14th, cthorror.com. If you order ahead of time, you get in at 10. It's $25 admission if you have a child 10 years of age or younger, actually 11 years or younger. I think we have it as they get in for free. So just check it out and, come see the Naugatuck Event Center too, because
heck yeah, Valley, it's in your backyard. Support this.
That's right. That's right.
Something
And I will
truly
tell you,
unique.
I will tell you, a lot of our pre-orders, I did a glance of them. There's a lot of people from Naugatuck actually who've pre-ordered their tickets, and I applaud you for supporting, a local event. I think that's awesome.
Absolutely. All right, Christine, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me.
All right. Thank you, Gene.
For hundreds of years we've brought you the news. For the info we gave you the clues. discourse just about dead. We'll ride the dinosaur. Yeah, ride the dinosaur. Our readers are in the opens each day. Online clickbait a prurient way. It's free information here to stay. Not even hookers give it away. Advertising, metastasizing, newsroom shrinking, constant attrition. We'll ride the dinosaur. We'll ride the dinosaur.